There's three keys to wealth. First, make and retain $100,000. Prove to yourself that you can make and retain is the big word there, $100,000. Then take all that money, put it into your business so that you can get the lead generation you need, you can get the sales team that you need, whatever you need in place to be able to get an extensive amount of cash flow going with your business. Now that you've invested all that money, you have the cash flow coming in, your systems, your processes, your people, they're starting to be in place. What happens? The business starts running well. And this is a much harder thing than I'm making it sound, but this is the simplicity of it. Once that happens, you have an extensive amount of cash flow. And what will your accountant say? They'll say, hey, you got all this money that you're going to have to pay taxes on unless you can figure out a way to put this to work. And so once you get part two down, you have extensive amount of cash coming into the business, then you have to put that money into things that can give you tax benefits and passive income. And so that simplified the three phases of wealth to me.
Welcome to Begin, Build, Blossom Your Business Journey, the podcast where we share valuable insights, resources, and motivation to fuel your entrepreneurial spirit. Let's build a supportive community together. Don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you listen to podcasts and be part of this journey. Let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsors. You've built a name for yourself through hard work and dedication, but does managing the business side feel like a distraction from your true passion? Are you dealing with unmanaged finances? CME Accounting LLC is here to help. We specialize in organizing your financial records, allowing you to focus on what you do best. With organized books, you'll have more time for what inspires you. Whether that's expanding your influence, building relationships, or simply enjoying life. Don't let unmanaged finances hold you back. Reach out to CME Accounting LLC today and let us help you thrive. Visit our website www.cmeaccountingllc.com or email us at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. All right, let's jump back into our conversation. Good day and welcome to another episode of our podcast, Begin, Build, Blossom. Today we're joined by Brandon Gaydorus, a 5-time author and founder of Warm Heart Life, which he launched in 2019. On a day-to-day basis, Brandon focuses on helping individuals achieve their personal, professional, and financial goals. He is passionate about bringing personal development to his hometown of Stamford, Connecticut, through events such as A2B TEDxStamford, Map Your Way to Financial Freedom, and a combination of both in-person and virtual speaker schools. After being one of the youngest professionals voted onto Golf Digest Top 50 Trainers in America list in 2019 and 2020, Brandon decided to shift his focus from fitness to personal development with the intention of growing alongside as many people as possible. Through his speaker schools, mentorship programs, comedy shows, and guest speaking engagements, Brandon has completed more than 650 speaking appearances. Brandon, welcome to Begin, Build, Blossom.
Oh, thank you so much. It's interesting listening to the bio because I remember when I was younger, I would go on these adventures by myself to find a waterfall or to climb a mountain. It'd be cool when I got to the waterfall or climbed the mountain. But then I started doing stuff with friends as I got older, like go skydiving and different things like that. And I realized it was so much more fun to do things with other people. And so when I hear the bio and I hear, hey, he wants to grow together with as many people as possible, I couldn't agree more. But it's interesting thinking about the different experiences that happen in life and why I'm so passionate about growing together. So yeah, thanks for sharing that bio. I haven't heard it read in a while. I've seen it a gazillion times.
Well, thank you. And I'm glad that you mentioned that because even for me, I really just enjoy doing with others. So there is just a different gratification that you get. So I totally understand that. So thanks for sharing that. Um, so before we go into the business side, we'd just like to get to know you a little better. So we have this section we call rapid fire. And we like to start with this question, and it is, we ask for 2 words to describe yourself. One you would have used to describe yourself as a child, and one you would use to describe yourself now.
I would say warm heart, and I think the heart comes from discipline I saw from my father, and the loyalty and slash trust I saw from my mother. And then I think growing together is the words now. We kind of touched on that a couple minutes ago, but the whole rest of my life, that's all I want to do is grow together with as many people as possible. When you're a professional athlete, what happened? You work essentially much of your life to be able to eventually be acclaimed as one of the best in the world and play at the top stage that you can. And so for my career, I essentially started my career at 17 years old, like the curiosity behind it. 26, I get voted top 50 in America. To me, it felt very similar to a professional athlete. And so when I started to understand that, I was like, okay, this is cool to be able to do it yourself. But what would be even more inspiring is to help other people understand the process to be able to climb their mountain or get wherever they want. So the whole rest of my life, this may involve a lot of different things, but my goal is to grow together with as many people as possible, whether it's friends, family, people I just met at the Health as Wealth Expo, whatever it may be. That's where my passion is, because I already achieved success in something that I just said, let me give it all I got and see what happens. And once you understand that process, it's like you can replicate it with real estate, you can replicate it with coaching. So it's just kind of one of those things. Once you understand the process of success, if you can understand how you did that, it's much easier to apply it to other things. And then if you can apply it to other things, then it's like, okay, well, why not help other people apply that to other areas of their life so that we can grow together and make an impact together.
Yeah, that's great that you do that. And it reminds me so much of this motto that comes to mind, lifting as we climb. It sounds like you've climbed, you continue to climb and you bring people along with you. I mean, I don't know if I should say make sure, but you provide the tools needed to get the success. Because like you said, you've learned and now you're sharing with others rather than keeping it all to yourself.
And there's a thing I heard when I was younger. It's like, if you won the lottery, what would you do with your life? And when you really think about that, at first it's like, okay, I would have the nice house, I'd have the nice cars, like all that stuff. You get the typical answers. When you really think about it, it's like, well, what would you do on the day to day? Well, I would want to be able to wake up near the ocean. Oh, okay, I would want to raise a family. I would want to get excited to get out of bed in the morning. It's like, okay, well, how can you figure out a way to fund that lifestyle? And if you can figure out a way to fund that lifestyle, then all of a sudden now you're making the money you want and you're living the life that you want. But most people let their life be affected based on the way that they're bringing in money and the work that they have in their life. But what I learned through personal development and having a great mentor is how important it is to think about how you want to live and then worrying about how you want to pay for it. Because a lot of people think the money is going to solve the issue, but they forget the most important thing, which is figuring out how they want to live. And if you can figure out how you want to live, then you can figure out a way to pay for it. This is just my opinion over years and years and years of personal development. But I think that's where a lot of people mess up. And when I was going to switch careers, that's what I thought about. How do I want to live? And so I created a bucket list business. Like, it's 2026 right now. I created the LLC in 2019, but in 2018 I created the core values of the business, and I would just say the core values almost every day, and they had a word and then three subwords, and then those subwords had about a sentence of meaning to each one, and I would say those over and over and over again. And I didn't have a product or service. I just like, hey, this is the values I want to live by. And so I studied Walmart, Amazon, Pandora Jewelers, Starbucks, and I created core values in 2018 that were similar to what I was studying from the most successful companies in the world. And so I took a lot of time to think about like, okay, like who's the person that I want to be instead of how much money do I want to make. But I want to have 10,000 student universities someday. And that's $1 billion plus business. So now all of a sudden I got more motivated to make more money when I could see where, hey, if I could get this money, I can make this type of impact and I could do this, this, and this in life.
So, just curious, what led you to this? Like, is there something from your childhood that you can maybe remember that helped you get to where you are right now?
Absolutely. I study this more and more because in my 20s, I started teaching personal development and like specifically when I turned 23, I started feeling some success. So I started speaking a little bit. Around the age of like 26, that's when I started teaching. So I started teaching personal development pretty young. And it was voluntarily. It's not like I was getting paid for it, but I was getting a lot of students I was working with, and it gave me a lot of opportunity to teach and get some insight on what they wanted. And I would say a lot in my 20s, I focused on telling people what to do. And I would say a lot in my 30s, I focused on understanding why someone's not doing something and why someone is. And one of the things that I've been studying more and more is myself. It's like, why am I so much more motivated to go after healthy relationships, to go after, being financially free, to go work out consistently and eat 80% good. Like, why am I so motivated to do that compared to the majority of people? And so, as I started studying this more, I met a relationship coach who told me this concept that made a lot of sense to me. He said that a lot of the way that you look at life is based on the first 7 years of your life. And so as I look back at that, I've gained a lot more respect for my parents. I think as a child, it's easy to have stuff, that happens from your parents that you're mad about, whether it was like, oh, you can't do this, you need to do this, like whatever it may be. But the older I got and the more experience I got, the more I realized a lot of my motivation came from my parents. So I grew up in it with a healthy marriage. Like I saw a healthy marriage, not only from my parents, but all my dad's family married over 30 years. They're still together. His parents married, I think they were married over 65 years, that until they passed away. And then my mom's side, her parents were married till her father passed away, right? And then the aunts and uncles that I was closest with, they're still together. There was two divorces in her side, but she had a very big family. But those are probably the two that I was least closest with, right? So I saw a lot of healthy marriages, and I didn't realize how valuable that was till I got older. And so one of the things that I saw with my parents specifically, I could talk about my aunts and uncles and grandparents, but one of the things I saw with my parents is when most people's parents were going out on Friday or Saturday nights and hiring the babysitters, I would say my parents were home like 99.5% of the time on Friday and Saturday nights. Like I barely remember having a babysitter. And I'm not saying that there's anything against that. But what I saw consistency in showing up. And so like when I was a personal trainer, people would always be like, Brandon, you just always show up. Like I've never seen like with coaching, Brandon, you just always show up. I have a client who's been with me 6 years and he probably shows up to one call a week or one call a month and he pays for the month, right? Every month he gets one call a week with me. He probably shows up to one call a month. And it's one of those things. He's probably still working with me because he appreciates me calling him at our set time every month knowing that, hey, this is a call for you to get better so you can continue to grow towards your goals. And so it's kind of one of those things. I think a lot of people have worked with me for a while because I just always seem to show up. Is there once in a blue moon? Absolutely. But like that is probably my biggest strength because my parents, I was late to a workshop I was teaching for the first time I could ever remember. And like they had to call my room because my alarm didn't go off. Like it was set. It was set, and for some reason it didn't go off. And I was late, and it killed me. I mean, but I still what? I still showed up. And when I showed up, I gave everything that I had. I gave everything that I had. And it was like at the end of the day, I don't even know if anyone remembered that I was late. But that's the biggest thing. Like I learned showing up from my parents. And I learned work ethic from my parents as well, and specifically my dad to answer your question. Like my mom always showed up, and then like work ethic and taking chances, I learned a lot from my dad. And so I would go down to the basement on a Saturday night, and my dad would be down there studying for an exam. He would pass the exam, and then I would go down there on a Saturday night and be like, "Oh, what are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I'm just studying for my next exam." This is like on a Saturday night. Who in the world like would do that? But my dad was so passionate about not failing. Like he would tell me these stories about when he switched careers. It was funny, like I switched careers when I was at the peak of my career. My dad switched careers when he hated his career and he was actually making less as like 7, 8 years in than he was when he started. And so I saw my dad switch careers. So for me, it didn't seem like it was that impossible to do. In fact, it seemed like it was more possible to do than probably anyone else saw. And so my dad, he would tell me these stories about like when he was transitioning from his career, which was probably like when I was like 4 to 7 was when the big part of his transition happened. And he would say like, when we were doing our training, they said, look to the person to your left, look to the person to your right. Only one of you is going to make it through this training. And my dad was like, that's going to be me. Things like that. Like he would drop me off to daycare, go to college to get his master's degree in finance, what he switched his career to, and then he took the whole year off to go to school and take a shot, and he just wasn't going to fail. And so for me, seeing that growing up, it's much easier for me to take chances. And because I was able to take chances as I got older, I was able to get other mentors in my life that could help me understand different things that I didn't learn from my parents. But I truly think that my parents set the foundation of this motivation that eventually got enhanced by all the people that I was able to meet from showing up and from getting around people who were willing to put in the work that most people weren't willing to put in.
Right. So you've been around this from very young. So I hear confidence, I hear consistency, risk taking. I hear quite a lot there that is, and all of those are so very important as an entrepreneur. So now that you're in business, what would you say is the best part of being in business or the highest high that you've had so far?
Well, there's a lot of lows.
We will definitely cover that too. So, or you can start with that if you want.
Yeah, I could talk about the lows for quite some time. I think the highest high is taking a chance on something that in your mind you started saying like, hey, this would be cool if I was able to do that. And so I personally don't really know another way. When I got out of college, I was on a commission only as a personal trainer. So even though I was working inside of a business, I always kind of felt like an entrepreneur. Like we had to, they definitely did help with getting clients and obviously having the facility, but you still had to work to get the clients and keep the clients, right? And then when I was 25, I went on my own. So I started supporting myself through my business at 25 years old. So I don't I don't kind of really know another way. Like I don't know what vacation days feel like. I don't know what PTO feels like. I don't know what it's like to get benefits. Like I've had to pay my benefits ever since I think the age of 26. Luckily, I was able to be on my parents' plan for a little bit. But then once you hit 26 or whatever that age is, then you have to start, so I don't really know the other way. But I would say one of the biggest benefits is like you're in control of a lot of the decisions that need to be made to be able to make sure that you can support yourself and live the life that you want. And so I think one of the highest highs I would say would definitely my conference, my A to B con, when you have a couple hundred people who come in from all over the country to be able to learn how to accelerate their health, wealth, and relationships. I think that was, and then the speaker school celebration, every speaker school we have, it's just kind of like you have that really good. My friends always used to joke. We would go out in college, and the next day I'd be like, "That was a top five night ever." I was like, "That was so much fun," and they would always used to joke because I would say that almost every week, right? And so as I get older, like some of my favorite nights have been the speaker school celebration after everybody gives their keynote. They're on a high. They got to know each other over the last couple of days. And I was telling the Stanford Speaker School, I said, I can't wait till we actually finish this because when I look back at some of the best nights I've ever had, it's been the speaker school celebration. And what happens the next day? You wish you could relive it. And tonight I have an opportunity to relive it with you all in a unique way. And so I'm so grateful to be able to have this experience happen again and again. I think I'm on 40 something speaker schools now. So yeah, those are definitely the highs. And then I don't know if you want to get into lows, I guess we can do that too.
Let's pause for a moment to hear from our sponsors. You've built a name for yourself through hard work and dedication, but does managing the business side feel like a distraction from your true passion? Are you dealing with unmanaged finances? CME Accounting LLC is here to help. We specialize in organizing your financial records, allowing you to focus on what you do best. With organized books, you'll have more time for what inspires you. Whether that's expanding your influence, building relationships, or simply enjoying life. Don't let unmanaged finances hold you back. Reach out to CME Accounting LLC today and let us help you thrive. Visit our website www.cmeaccountingllc.com or email us at admin@cmeaccountingllc.com. All right, let's jump back into our conversation. We'd like to hear about the lows, so tell us maybe the one that pops up for you.
Yeah, so you'll appreciate it this obviously with the business that you're in. So I learned from a billionaire when I was younger, there's three keys to wealth. First, make and retain $100,000. Prove to yourself that you can make and retain. Retain is the big word there, $100,000. Then take all that money, put it into your business so that you can get the lead generation you need, you can get the sales team that you need, whatever you need in place to be able to get an extensive amount of cash flow going with your business. Now that you've invested all that money, you have the cash flow coming in, your systems, your processes, your people, they're starting to be in place. What happens? The business starts running well. And this is a much harder thing than I'm making it sound, but this is the simplicity of it. Once that happens, you have an extensive amount of cash flow. And what will your accountant say? They'll say, hey, you got all this money that you're going to have to pay taxes on unless you can figure out a way to put this to work. And so once you get part two down, you have extensive amount of cash coming in the business, then you have to put that money into things that can give you tax benefits and passive income. And so that simplified the three phases of wealth to me. And I was like, okay, I got to make and retain 100,000. Then I got to take chances. I got to start spending money. And then once I have a lot of consistency with the business and money coming in and cash flow coming in, then I could start putting that into stuff that can make me wealthy. And so that's how I've looked at wealth. I learned it from a billionaire. So I was like, I think I'm going to stick to that because to me, that made a lot of sense. To someone else, if it doesn't make sense, okay. But like the fastest way to get from point A to point B is to learn from people at point B. So that's someone who's at my point B. I think I'm going to take their advice versus a lot of the BS advice that people who haven't gotten to where I want to be will tell me. And so I got to $100,000 at a somewhat young age for not being like a celebrity or an influencer or like investment bank or anything like that. I was probably like 27 or 28 when I got to 100,000. I can't remember, but I was probably right around that age. And so what happened was I was like, okay, I know I need to start taking chances. But what did I do? I did the opposite. I kept saving. And so when I got to like 150, I was like, dude, you got to start taking some chances, man, because this money is not growing that fast. And so that's when I spent $80,000 on a conference. It was my third year of having a conference. I spent 80,000 and I think I got 51 in revenue. So if you do the math, I lost about $29,000. And so when you talk about the lows, that's what people don't see. But because I had saved that 100 plus thousand dollars, I knew I could get it back if I needed to. And so when I was thinking about this, I was like, when else are you going to have an opportunity in life to be able to take a chance like this? So I had my conference. That wasn't necessarily where I lost money like that. I I I was I think 12 tickets away from sold out. Like and that's way overselling tickets. You know? And so but I was co-promoting a show at a 1,600 person theater later that night because I wanted to get that performer to speak at my conference. And that's what cost a lot of money. So that show lost a good amount of money. And I had to pay him a fee for him coming to mine and buy a bunch of tickets to the show. So I learned from it though. I got a mentor from 7 months. I got to interview one of the top 10 highest paid comedians in the country. And I got to the point with my business bank account where I was like, this could potentially get to zero. And
Talk
so
about lows.
that was one of the lows for sure. But I also got one of the highs. I had a picture that changed my life. I had an energy and an atmosphere in that room that day that said, hey, you know what? I think you should do this full time. And 2 weeks after that conference, I said, I'm going to do this business full time. And that was in May 2023. I put in my 2 week notice to my fitness clients. And then, so before the age of 30, because I turned 30 May 16th, 2023, before I turned 30, I retired from golf fitness. And I've been pursuing this business ever since. And in reality, the goal is to, most of my 30s to make this the focus, to be able to create 10,000 student universities. And if that doesn't happen, I'm okay with it because having that as a goal has led me to things like I got to teach and get paid for to work with students who attend Wharton, which is the number one business school in the country by many uh, different sources. And so I got to teach to students who go to the number one business school in the country this year. None of that, like that would not have happened if I didn't set this goal. I got to teach a speaker mastermind in Santorini, Greece, last 2 weekends ago. There's no way that that would have ever happened if I didn't put this goal in place. And I'm still going to give it all I got to continue to make that happen. But if it doesn't happen, something good will happen as a result of chasing that goal of creating the most impactful education system in the United States.
Okay, so I can see how you took that risk. And at the time, when you look at the numbers, it didn't quite work out the way you'd have liked. But the things that have unfolded since has been some of the best things that could have happened in your career, including going from basically doing your business or aspects of your business part-time to now doing it full-time? And you mentioned you have masterminds, you mentioned your speaking school, and you also do coaching and so much more. How did you decide on what to do, considering you were in the fitness field and now you're doing all this personal development? I mean, I could see there's probably correlations there, but tell us what led to that pivot and how did you make that decision?
I think my first passion was always personal development. I played golf competitively. That's what I went to school for. And then I kind of took the niche of golf fitness. That's what I was more interested in. But I think I was more interested in the process of trying to get really good at something. And so I actually started studying personal development a little more intensively when I was 20. And my buddy told me about this network marketing company. And so I bought into the program or whatever. I didn't resonate with the product. So I just kind of stayed in there a little bit because I invested in it. And they would give us like these books, and then they would teach us how important it is to take control of our destiny. And so it was a weird mix. Anybody who's been in network marketing, they could probably relate. I don't know if I could say that I was really in it because I really just bought the thing and I'd never really tried to get the people. But to me, it was one of the most valuable things that I ever invested in my life because I got around people who were starting to take initiative to create the lives that they wanted. And so for me, the whole network marketing thing was interesting, and they gave us this one book called The Compound Effect, and then they gave us a lot of Jim Rohn like YouTube stuff. And so when I started like reading and listening to those types of things, I realized that I was passionate about golf fitness. And so I just started applying what they were teaching in that into golf fitness. And all of a sudden, I started accelerating in that. And then I met a guy when I was 20 through a seminar at school who said he wanted to be the best in the world. And all he did to be the best at what he did was write down a top 10 list of the 10 best people in the world at what he wanted to be the best at. And then he went and learned, observed, shadowed, studied, and met all 10 of those people. So for me, golf fitness was something that I could kind of test out these personal development principles because I enjoyed it. I was passionate about it. But as I started to like get acclaimed as top 50 in America, as I started getting people traveling an hour into work with me for a personal training session, that's this kind of unheard of in the personal training world. It's like you're typically limited to a 5 mile radius of people coming to see you. I had people coming like up to an hour away to come see me, like consistently for sessions, right? So when that stuff started happening, Golf Digest, which is like for business, you have like Forbes magazine. For golf, you have Golf Digest. It's like the mecca. Golf Digest starts reaching out to me about partnering with them for a big article on a big trend that was going on at the time. That article gets out, my career like skyrockets. My book sold 278 copies that month because they mentioned it in the article, and people just started reaching out to me from all over, and to the point where I even had I didn't work with this guy, but I even had a conversation with the son of the guy who owns Louis Vuitton. And this guy, very successful CEO of one of their companies, right? Like I had a conversation with a guy like that. And because I had a niche, and I was at that time I was good at what I did, right? And so I started thinking, do I really want to do this the rest of my life? Because I could still see I could get better. Like I say this in a very humble way. Like you hear me saying, oh, well, you were top 50 in America. That's what I was nominated, right? But like I knew in my mind I was top 50 in America because three people on that list I had worked for. So I had already known what the best were doing. And once my reps caught up with the knowledge, it was clear to me I was the guy that people should go to for that. But I could also see how much better I could get. And I said, do I really want to focus on getting that much better over the next 10 years and being looked at as the best? Or, or do I want, now that I'm still young, like 26, 27, 28, because these were the years I was thinking about this, do I really want to actually see if there's something else out there that I could pursue pretty hard for the next 10 years that I would just like, I would love it. And so that was the thought that would went through my mind. And eventually, after a couple of years, I kind of knew in 2021, in the summer, July 2021, that's when the vision came. That's when I knew I was going to pursue this full time. But it still took me another, this is what a lot of people don't see, it still took me another 2 years of doing both businesses, to be able to feel like I was in the right place to do it full time. And I can't say that's the best way to go about it. That's the way that I went about it. And so the reason I knew that this was the way I wanted to go is because I studied people like Andrew Carnegie, and he talked about how the first third of his life he was focused on educating himself as much as possible. The second third, making as much money as possible. The last third, giving it all away. And I said, if the wealthiest guy in the world at that time spent a third of his life educating himself, then there's a huge opportunity to grow with people if I can focus on education. And so when I started diving into the education business, I started realizing it's $1 trillion plus business. And so I said, I hear people complaining about the education system all the freaking time. I said, what if I could be the guy that helps change this? And so with me, I had started studying public speaking through my mentor, Tom, in the fitness industry. And so I had been consistently practicing this public speaking thing for like 3 years. And in that 3 years, about two of them, I was mentoring high school and college students, where I was teaching them principles about marketing, about taking initiative, about reach outs that I learned. And so I knew based on doing that this was something I really enjoyed. And then for the business coaching side, I said, hey, my goal is to help 21 people get to 21,000 a month and they don't have to pay till they get there. And so I had started working with a bunch of people business coaching wise. Now, given a lot of them weren't paying me, but I was getting repetitions in. And I knew this from my previous career, I needed to get repetitions. And so by focusing on repetitions and generally trying to help people make money, I started to realize like I really liked it. And so by the time 2022 was kind of finishing up, that was almost 2 years of me really doing this business coaching on the side full time. I wouldn't say full time, but like consistently. And I had started getting a good amount of people paying me up to that point, where I was maybe getting like over $5,000 a month, and this is a side job, right? This is why I was personal training like 30 hours a week. 30 hours a week of personal training is a lot more than 30 hours, right? Travel, designing programs, getting there early, all that stuff. And so I kind of knew like I was getting some money in. I kind of knew that this is something I could potentially do. And then on top of that, the speaker schools had started creating momentum. And so I knew I wanted to keep teaching speaking, and I knew I wanted to keep business coaching. So it was just clear that this was the direction that could help me get to the big vision. Because in order to create the most impactful education system in the world, I knew I needed to get people in a room in a positive way, and I knew I needed to help them make money. And the nice part about the niche of public speaking is I get to help other people who are experts at what they do spread their message more and better so that they can impact more people. And if they can impact more people because it's something that they learned from me, then I'm doing my part to make this world a better place. And so that's how I kind of knew that that's where I wanted to go. But I wouldn't have did it if I didn't have the vision. The vision that came in July of 2021 propelled the discipline the next 2 years to be able to say, hey, I think I can do this full time. And then from 2018 to 2021, it was barely any revenue and a lot of just trying to figure out like, what do I like? What do I don't like? And I'm glad when someone like you asked that question, because to make such a big shift from a career that you have success in, I do think there has to be a very, very strong reason why, or something that you could see that can push you to do a lot of the things that you don't want to do along the way. And for me, that happens almost every day.
Hmm. I heard you said compound there, and I remember you said you read that book.
The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, and for network marketing, that was a book that they recommended.
Right. And that is exactly what you're doing, the impact, you're compounding that through the people that you work with. And I will say I heard of you before I met you. So you're definitely having a lot of impact there, and people are very happy to share that. So thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. Is there anything we haven't covered that you just like to add for persons who are building businesses right now?
Yeah, my mentor one time, as I got older, he would just invite me to his workshops because I'd paid for so much coaching and so many of his workshops over the years. Eventually, he would just say, just come. I want you there. And so when you start going into workshops from someone you've seen over and over again, in my mind, you're able to pick up different things because you're just so much more open because you've heard a lot of stuff. So you're so much more open when he says something different or he goes in a different direction. And so I've always enjoyed going to see him speak. The more and more I've known him, because he just has endless amounts of stories and perspectives. And one time he was just like, I'm so sick of people asking me how to find their purpose. What is my purpose? He said, listen, you got one purpose on this earth, and that's to leave it better than when you got here. And so when he said that, I was like, oh, that's so right. Like, if the rest of our life we could just focus on making this world better when we exit it than when we arrived in it, then we probably did our part to make this world a better place and to make something out of our life, which at the end of the day, I've never knowingly been at a point where I'm like, oh, I'm going to die, like on a crazy plane crash or something like that. But I would imagine when you get to that point where you're like, hey, I might not wake up tomorrow, or this might be my last 10 seconds. I imagine the one thing that will probably make you happy is knowing you did something that made this world a better place, whether it's bringing uh, daughters or sons into this world, whether it's the compliments that you gave people throughout the years, whatever it may be. I think that's the one purpose we should have, and I think everybody can measure it in a different way. I don't think you have to be a billionaire to be able to make this world a better place. But it doesn't mean if you're a billionaire, you haven't made this world a better place. I think often they get a lot of hate. And then it's like, well, how much money have you donated this year? Oh, 10 million. Well, how much are you worth? And then they may say like 2.2 billion. It's like, oh, well, you should give more money away. It's like, I understand where you're coming from. How much did you give away this year? Oh, $1,000. Okay. Why didn't you give away more money? Oh, well, I did. It's like, okay, that $1,000 could have really helped someone out. That 10 million bucks could have really helped someone out. That compliment that cost no money could have really helped someone out. I don't think we always have to revolve being a better person around money. There was a friend of mine's dad who recently passed away, who when I was 21, I wanted to start an internship early, and the place I was moving into wouldn't let me move in for another 2 weeks. And I would have had to stay at a hotel. I would have had to not start that internship early. But my friend, who I was like friends with, but not super good friends, he said, hey, I live about a half hour from where you're interning. My parents would be happy to host you. We got an extra bedroom downstairs. You can stay there for as long as you want. I kid you not, that was one of the nicest things that anybody has ever did for me. And unintentionally, I saw a very healthy relationship between the two of them. They had many times where they would sit me down and just have breakfast with me, and I would learn. I would learn about different experiences from different people with so much wisdom. And that guy had a tremendous impact, and his wife had a tremendous impact on my life that now I think was one of the many things that inspired me to create Warm Heart Life. Is it the only thing that inspired that? Absolutely not. But I think it's a big instrumental part of why like I'm focused on giving back to other people as a part of my company and my life mission. And so a lot of times I think people weigh too much on, okay, like I have to do all this. Sometimes like these little things can have a very, very big impact on this world. And I believe if I'm able to keep living and keep speaking and keep doing whatever I can to get all of these things inside my head to other people, I think this world will be a much better place. And it's because the people who came before me.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And that's such a good reminder to us, to not take things for granted. In terms of what we give and also what is given to us. So thanks for sharing that with us. And as we end, what is the best way that people can reach out to you?
My number is 607-348-6136. And then my social media is Brandon Gaydorus, pretty much across all platforms. So that's the best way.
Okay, and just to summarize the things that you do, and who's the person you would like to reach out right now? I mean, I'm sure it's just about anybody, but in terms of the people that you serve, maybe just cover that a little bit.
The best person to reach out to me is someone who's interested in accelerating the process to get to where they want to be from point A to point B with their goals, or someone who's interested in cleaning up their message so that they can reach more people. Because I have one-on-one coaching, and then I teach a speaker school mastermind where we help people create content, understand how to craft a keynote speech, and build more confidence, whether it's on camera or speaking in front of small to very large groups of people.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that. And thanks for spending time with us today. Have a good day and talk to you again soon.
All right, you too. Take care.
A quick note before we wrap up. The insights and experiences shared by our guests are their own. We love creating space for real conversations about business and growth, and everyone's journey is unique. Therefore, this podcast is for informational and inspirational purposes only. It is not meant to replace legal, financial, or other professional advice. So, we encourage you to take what's useful, do your own due diligence, and build what works best for you.
Thanks for listening to Begin, Build, Blossom Your Business Journey. We hope today's conversation gave you the insights and inspiration you need to move forward on your own path. Don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you get your podcast so you never miss an episode. Do you have feedback? We'd love to hear from you at podcast@cmeaccountingllc.com. Join us again next week for a new episode.